Chapter 436. In the side hall, not only was Qiu Yimeng puzzled, everyone else also didn't understand why Yang Kai didn't take advantage of the situation to attack. Now, he should have the qualifications to attack Yang Quan. Could it be that at this time you still care about your brotherly feelings? Qiu Yimeng sneered. Don't forget, last night you were attacked by two brothers. When did they care about you? Your Yang family's inheritance war, to put it bluntly, is a survival of the fittest, using the blood and bones of the other family's cultivator to pave your road to fame. Yang Kai frowned. Although he admitted that what Qiu Yimeng said was true, he still didn't say anything. Qiu Yimeng didn't seem to notice his expression and continued, "What's more, even if you don't attack Yang Quan, someone else will sooner or later. Instead of letting others take advantage of this piece of fat, it's better to grasp it in your own hands now. Junior brother, there should be a reason for doing this, right?" Lan Chudai suddenly spoke, her beautiful eyes flashing a soft light of understanding. Qiu Yimeng couldn't help feeling a bit uncomfortable as she snorted. What reason? Think about it yourself. Your young lady Qiu is so smart, naturally you can figure it out. Yang Kai grinned meaningfully. Qiu Yimeng stared at him, her slightly fluctuating mood suddenly calming down. The reason why her tone had been so harsh was because no matter what she suggested, Yang Kai had never accepted it. She couldn't help but feel discouraged. Secondly, it was because Yang Kai had just glanced at Lan Chudi's chest, which made her feel very uncomfortable. This young lady also has one, it's just not that big. Qiu Yimeng was a smart person. She was intelligent and naturally had her own way of thinking about things. After calming down, her thoughts quickly turned, trying to figure out why Yang Kai hadn't attacked. Dong Qinghan saw the slightly tense atmosphere and didn't dare to interrupt, only remaining silent and pretending to be deaf and mute. Inside the side hall, the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. After a while, Qiu Yimeng's eyes lit up and she raised her head. Looking towards Yang Kai with a look of understanding, she smiled and said, "I understand. Since you know, don't suggest it again." Yang Kai nodded. I won't order you around in the future. It's like showing off in front of an expert." Qiu Yimeng spat disdainfully. "Good girl, it's better for women to be obedient." Yang Kai gave her a "you're quite sensible." Dong Qinghan had just taken a sip of water, but when he heard these words, he almost spat it out, coughing uncontrollably as his admiration for Yang Kai deepened. Who would dare to say such words to Qiu Yimeng? None of the young lords of the central capital's 8 great families had the courage, nor the qualifications to do so. Only his own cousin dared. How bold! But the Qiu family's eldest young miss actually didn't refute. Lan Chudai listened to the conversation in a daze, but she was too embarrassed to ask. He still couldn't figure out the deeper meaning behind it. On the other hand, elders Feng and Yun nodded in agreement after a moment of contemplation. Can I ask?" Dong Qinghan's curiosity was piqued. "What kind of riddles are you playing at?" Qiu Yimeng chuckled lightly and turned to the wind and clouds. "If 2 seniors have guessed correctly, please share it with young Master Dong. Don't make your young master anxious." The elders Feng and Yun glanced at each other before the wind guard lightly coughed and said, "These 2 old men can only see one reason. If there is anything wrong with what we said, we hope young Master Kai and young Lady Qiu can point it out." After pausing for a moment, he continued, "Young Master Kai is now in the limelight. Of the remaining 7 young lords, no one can match him. On the surface, it is indeed a good time for him to take advantage of the situation. The other young lords all suffered heavy losses last night and have no time or mood to pay attention to others. As for the eldest young lord Yang Wei, since he didn't take action last night, it is obviously because of his status as the eldest young lord. This time, if young Master Kai were to attack Yang Quan's mansion, with young Master Yang Wei's temperament, he wouldn't act in secret. At most, he would join forces with young Master Kai and share the benefits. But if young Master Kai really did this, he would have defeated 2 Yang family young lords in a row. As a result, his reputation would naturally become even more resounding, but that resounding reputation would also push him into the limelight. The other 5 young lords would definitely regard young Master Kai as their biggest enemy, perhaps forcing them to join forces to suppress him. The wind guard's face was filled with horror as he quickly said, "The tallest tree in the forest is the first to be destroyed by the wind." Listening to him, Dong Qinghan and Lan Chudai couldn't help but suddenly understand why Yang Kai didn't agree with Qiu Yimeng's proposal. The wind guard's analysis was meticulous, and it was indeed very possible. No, it was definitely going to happen. If the other Yang family young lords were really forced to join forces, Yang Kai's days would not be easy. Being in the limelight once was enough, doing it twice would only be counterproductive. For a moment, Dong Qinghan couldn't help secretly rejoicing that he had not been born in the Yang family. If he had been born in the Yang family, with such a sinister character as Yang Kai as his opponent, he was afraid he wouldn't even know how he had been defeated. The wind guard slowly shook his head. "This is the only reason this old man can see, but I think young Master Kai must have other reasons." "Can young Master Kai explain to this old man? Is this reason not enough?" Dong Qinghan was stunned. This reason alone was enough to make Yang Kai stay put. Yang Kai smiled lightly. "There are indeed other reasons, but I can't say for now. If I say it now, it will only make people think I am too arrogant. You'll understand in a few days." The wind guard nodded gently. "Since young Master Kai has some difficulties, there is no need to force him. Let us wait and see." Qiu Yimeng sighed. "I can't understand you more and more." Even she couldn't figure out the second reason why Yang Kai didn't attack, and she didn't know if he had a third reason. As the group was talking, Xianxia walked in with a serious expression, cupping his fists and saying, "Young Master Kai, someone has come to join us." "Didn't I say I didn't want anyone I didn't know?" Yang Kai frowned. "The person who came said he knew you." Xianxia replied. "Which family?" Yang Kai suddenly felt a little surprised. "The Lu family." Yang Kai and Qiu Yimeng glanced at each other and smiled, both of them knowing that Lu Liang had sent someone. "Since they've come, let them come in," Yang Kai ordered, not giving face to the monk but the Buddha. The Lu family had definitely come to deliver gifts. Xianxia nodded and went out to greet them. After a while, Lu Song led 2 Immortal Ascension Boundary 7-stage masters into the hall. Lu Song really didn't want to give the materials he had brought to Yang Kai. In his mind, Yang Kai was definitely a treacherous and cunning person, otherwise, why would he try to extort his Lu family's wealth? He had never seen such a shameless person before. If possible, Lu Song would have taken this batch of materials to one of the other Yang family young lords, but after Yang Kai's bizarre performance last night spread out, Lu Song suddenly realized that it was impossible not to deliver these things. Lu Liang had ordered that no matter how Yang Kai's performance in the inheritance war was, these things had to be given to him. What's more, Yang Kai's performance was not ordinary. If this batch of materials was privately handed over to someone else, he would definitely be punished when he returned home. This time, not only did he have to deliver gifts, but he also had to bring people to act as a hired thug for Yang Kai. Lu Song couldn't help feeling disgusted. The Lu family had dispatched a lot of people this time, 2 Immortal Ascension Boundary 7-stage masters to act as Lu Song's protectors, 1 Immortal Ascension Boundary 4th stage, 2 Immortal Ascension Boundary 3rd stage, and 20 Yuan Qi cultivators. With such a force, no matter which young lord they chose to rely on, they would definitely be welcomed into his mansion, but this Yang Kai was too arrogant, actually allowing his subordinates to lead him in without even bothering to greet him. Lu Song was annoyed. When he walked in, his expression was calm, but after seeing Qiu Yimeng, he quickly stepped forward and said, "Lu Song greets cousin." Qiu Yimeng gently nodded, "You've worked hard." Lu Song smiled, "It's not hard, I just came to deliver some things, it's nothing." Saying so, he swept his eyes over the crowd and asked, "Which one of you is young Lord Kai?" Yang Kai nodded, "I am." Lu Song's eyes swept over, the corners of his mouth rising slightly as he chuckled, "Greetings young Lord Kai, this Lu Song has long been looking forward to meeting you." When Qiu Yimeng heard these words, her brow couldn't help wrinkling slightly. Lu Song's tone was slightly provocative. Yang Kai's expression remained indifferent, not caring much about it, simply saying, "Patriarch Lu must have spent a lot of money. Yang Kai had just blackmailed Lu Liang. so it would be strange if this young Lord Lu's mood was good, so Yang Kai didn't bother arguing with him. After all, what he had done was a bit unkind, but there was a reason for it. Lu Song hadn't expected Yang Kai's reaction to be so calm, so he didn't dare show any disdain, simply saying, "Before I came here, my father ordered me to deliver these things to young Lord Kai. The people I brought are at young Lord Kai's disposal. I hope they can help young Lord Kai in the inheritance war." "And I understand." Yang Kai nodded. "Since that's the case, you can do as you please. The mansion is quite large. Have Chiu Yimeng arrange a courtyard for you to rest in. If there's anything you need, I'll call for you." Regarding the change in attitude of the Lu family's patriarch, Lu Liang, Yang Kai didn't show any surprise, but he didn't care much about this group of people from the Lu family. If he hadn't guessed wrong, Lu Song's group should have arrived in War City a long time ago. They hadn't shown up yesterday and only arrived today, apparently waiting to see if he would be eliminated last night. Whether this guess was correct or not, Yang Kai would have to ask the Bamboo Knot Gang about it. For such late allies, Yang Kai naturally wouldn't treat them the same as the Dong family and Chiu Yimeng. Chiu Yimeng smiled and was about to arrange for Lu Song's group when Xiang Tianxiao suddenly ran in and said, "Young Lord Kai, someone else." "Who?" "Purple Fern Valley." Chiu Yimeng's eyes lit up as she said in surprise, "It's Xiao Man." As she spoke, she hurried over to Kai Yang and whispered, "It's not that Xiao Man didn't want to help you yesterday, but you also know that Xiao Man is just a girl. Although she has some status in Purple Fern Valley, she doesn't have the right to make decisions. For her to be able to bring people here today, she must have spent a lot of effort. You should thank her properly." Chapter 437. Luo Xiaoman and Chiu Yimeng's situation was quite similar. Both of them were women and had high status in their respective forces, but because they were women, they often felt helpless. "I understand." Yang Kai nodded gently. "Let's go out and greet them." Hearing him say this, Chiu Yimeng suddenly smiled. "Seems you still have some conscience." Standing up, Yang Kai led the group out. Before leaving, Chiu Yimeng turned to Lu Song and said, "You wait here for a moment, I'll arrange everything for you later." Lu Song nodded indifferently, feeling a sense of contempt in his heart. After all, when he had just arrived, Yang Kai had not gone out to greet him. Outside the mansion, the group from Purple Fern Valley led by Luo Xiaoman waited quietly. A moment later, Yang Kai and Chiu Yimeng walked out together, followed by Dong Qinghan and Lan Chudai. "Elder sister Chiu." When Luo Xiaoman saw Chiu Yimeng, she called out happily and was about to rush forward, but when she saw Yang Kai standing right next to her, she immediately stopped and shrank her neck, becoming extremely timid. Her fear of Yang Kai had penetrated deep into her soul. She didn't know why, but as long as she saw Yang Kai, or even thought about him, Luo Xiaoman would become afraid. This time, if it weren't for Chiu Yimeng, she wouldn't have had the courage to choose to stand on Yang Kai's side. "Xiaoman," Chiu Yimeng knew that she was timid and quickly stepped forward to hold her hand, comforting her for a while. Yang Kai glanced at her with a smile and then at Lan Chudai, who was following behind Dong Qinghan. Surprisingly, he found that these two women had one thing in common. Both of them had a pair of proud breasts. Both women were not tall, they could even be described as petite and exquisite, but their chests were extraordinarily large. After looking at them for a moment, Yang Kai suddenly felt a sense of foreboding and couldn't help feeling a little dizzy. Lan Chudai took in his unscrupulous gaze and blushed slightly. Purple Fern Valley's Fan Hong. "Greetings, young Lord Kai." A young man from the Purple Fern Valley crowd stepped forward and cupped his fists with a smile. "Brother Fan is not an outsider. There's no need to be so formal." Yang Kai laughed. Fan Hong smiled bitterly. "Last time at High Heaven Pavilion, if young Lord Kai was offended in any way, I hope young Lord Kai won't take offense. Fan Hong is here to apologize." Yang Kai's eyes flashed. His attitude also became much more amiable and he laughed heartily. "It is my honor that Brother Fan is willing to help me. Everything that happened in the past is just a passing cloud, and I have long forgotten about it. Last time in High Heaven Pavilion, the Dong family's Dong Qinghan, the Bai family's Bai Yun Feng, and this Fan Hong from Purple Fern Valley had joined forces to poach people from other sects. Later, they met Yang Kai and learned that he had a set of mysterious grade martial skills. All of them were moved, and each of them wanted to buy the black-level martial skill from Yang Kai. Dong Qinghan knew Yang Kai's details, but Bai Yunfeng didn't, so after offending Yang Kai, Bai Yunfeng ended up dying in the ash-gray cloud evil land Spider Mother's lair. At that time, Fan Hong's attitude towards Yang Kai wasn't very good. But at least he didn't bully others like Bai Yunfeng, so Yang Kai didn't hold any grudges. Hearing him say this, Fan Hong suddenly smiled and thanked him profusely. "Let's go in and have some tea, we'll talk while we drink." Yang Kai warmly said. The people from Purple Fern Valley weren't many, but they weren't few either. In terms of strength, they weren't much different from the people brought by the Lu family. Since the Inheritance War was a stage for the younger generation, these people naturally followed Fan Hong and Luo Xiaoman's lead. However, Luo Xiaoman and Qiu Yimeng had always been inseparable, so Yang Kai guessed that the people from Purple Fern Valley would probably follow Luo Xiaoman's orders, which was equivalent to following Qiu Yimeng's instructions. This meant that they could truly become his helpers. Yang Kai's thoughts quickly turned, and he quickly set the people from Purple Fern Valley in his mind. Arriving at the main hall, Yang Kai introduced the young lords and young ladies of the various forces one by one. After exchanging some pleasantries, everyone took their seats. Lu Song's expression wasn't very good, but when he saw Yang Kai go out to greet Luo Xiaoman, a look of understanding suddenly appeared in his eyes and the anger in his heart subsided. Since ancient times, heroes loved beautiful women. Now that such a beautiful young woman had come to seek refuge, Yang Kai taking the initiative to greet her was understandable. A pair of shifty eyes swept over Luo Xiaoman and Lan Chudai, secretly comparing which of them had more capital. Luo Xiaoman was originally a mischievous girl, but after going to the ash-gray cloud evil land, her temperament had changed greatly, her courage becoming smaller than a mouse's. Being stared at by Lu Song like this, she suddenly felt a little uneasy and couldn't help hiding behind Xiu Yimeng. On the other hand, Lan Chudai gracefully stood next to Dong Qinghan, her pair of beautiful eyes staring back at Lu Song without the slightest trace of fear, a cold smile appearing on her face. Lu Song immediately restrained himself. Although Yang Kai was talking to Fan Hong and Dong Qinghan, he was also observing the expressions of everyone in the hall. Noticing Lu Song's awkwardness, he couldn't help sneering in his heart. Senior Sister Lan was not a person to be trifled with. She was a strong person, so how could she allow others to take advantage of her without reacting? Before they could exchange a few words though, Xianxia, the errand boy, actually walked in again. Before he could speak, Yang Kai asked, "Who is it this time?" "It's a young man and woman. Their strength is probably around Yuan Qi 7th stage." Xiang Tianxiao replied meticulously, "They say they are old acquaintances of young Lord Kai. One is called Qin Shueshu and the other is called Su Xiaoyu." "Them?" Yang Kai looked surprised. "You know them?" Qiu Yimeng asked in surprise. "Then I know them." Yang Kai's mouth curled into a smile. "I met them one time when I was out for life experience. They were a pair of brother and sister, from Reflecting Moon Sect." Reflecting Moon Sect. Xiu Yimeng frowned. "If I remember correctly, this Reflecting Moon Sect should be just a second-class sect." "It's a second-class sect." Yang Kai nodded. Xiang Tianxiao then asked, "Young Lord Kai, they're only two people and don't seem to have a master accompanying them. What do you think we should do?" Only two young cultivators around Yuan Qi 7th stage wouldn't be able to play a role in the Inheritance War. If one wanted to participate in the Inheritance War, all the great forces in the world would either send a large number of people to assist or provide supplies. It was impossible for them to only send two weak young cultivators to help. Xiang Tianzhao's question was obviously because he thought Qin Shueshu and Su Xiaoyu wanted to use old acquaintances as an excuse to climb up the great tree known as Yang Kai. Xiang Tianxiao quite despised such people who tried to climb up the social ladder. "Yang Kai, even if they're old acquaintances, if they have bad intentions, you should know how to refuse." As his cousin, Dong Qinghan felt that he had an obligation to remind him. If he really did so, it would only disappoint other allies who had brought people and supplies. After all, after the inheritance war was won, this reflecting moon sect would also want a share of the spoils. However, if they were sincere in coming to help, even if they were few in number and had low strength, it wouldn't matter, at least it was their good intentions. They won't. Yang Kai shook his head, got up and straightened his clothes. Wait a moment, I'll go out and greet them myself. Qiu Yimeng stared blankly, not understanding why Yang Kai would treat a second-class sect so seriously. Even when he had just greeted the people from Purple Fern Valley, he hadn't been so happy. After pondering for a moment, Qiu Yimeng chuckled. Turning her head to look at Lu Song, she found that the Lu family young master's expression had become quite ugly. Frowning, Qiu Yimeng knew that he was resentful because of Yang Kai's preferential treatment and couldn't help secretly sighing. Lu Liang sending his son to participate in the inheritance war this time was likely to ruin their plans. Qiu Yimeng hadn't had much contact with this Lu family young master, so she didn't know what his character was like before, but now it seemed that this cousin of hers wasn't enough to accomplish anything great. Suddenly smiling, Qiu Yimeng said, "Lu Song, don't think too much about it. Since those two people are Yang Kai's acquaintances, there's nothing wrong with him going out to greet them. Later, when they come in, we'll just send them away. I'm afraid they don't have the qualifications to stay here." Dong Qinghan couldn't help glancing over at Qiu Yimeng with some surprise, seemingly not having expected this young lady Qiu to be so narrow-minded. Lu Song was secretly annoyed, but when he heard Qiu Yimeng say this, he suddenly smiled, thinking that Qiu Yimeng was supporting him, quickly nodding. "What cousin says is right. Which one of us here isn't from a first-class force? That reflecting moon sect is quite interesting. A trivial second-class sect actually wants to send only 2 people to participate in the inheritance war. Ridiculous. I'd like to see what kind of face they'll have to remain here." Qiu Yimeng smiled and nodded, no longer saying anything. Seeing the encouragement in her eyes, Lu Song couldn't help rubbing his hands together, waiting for Qin Shueshu and Su Xiaoyu to come in so he could teach them a lesson. Outside the mansion, a young man and a young woman were waiting anxiously. Su Xiaoyu stared inside for a long time but didn't see any sign of Yang Kai, so she couldn't help pursing her lips and asking, "Brother, do you think that Yang Kai is this Yang Kai? Why didn't anyone stop us even after we reported our names?" Chen Shueshu heard this and smiled wryly. "You're asking the wrong person. How could I know if this brother Yang is the same brother Yang? This world is big, there are many people with the same name and surname." Su Xiaoyu couldn't help feeling a little lost. If the Yang Kai here isn't the one we know, then if we ran over here and were rejected by him, how shameful would that be? If it's shameful, then it's shameful. Master didn't want to participate in this inheritance war. Our reflecting moon sect is just a second-class force. Our capital isn't strong, so even if we participate, we won't get any benefits. It was only because we heard that there was a Yang Kai here that Master allowed us to participate. If the person here isn't the one we know, it's actually a good thing to refuse. We can just go back home and save ourselves some trouble. I think he is. Su Xiaoyu suddenly affirmed. "Do you remember his performance in that isolated world? Those people from the Tianlang dynasty were all toyed with by him. All of our lives were saved by him. Besides the central capital's Yang family, I'm afraid there is no other force capable of cultivating such a person." Recalling all his experiences in that isolated world, Chen Shueshu couldn't help smiling bitterly. At that time, if it weren't for this Yang Kai, that group of cultivator from the Great Han Dynasty would likely have been completely wiped out. Whether it's him or not, we'll see soon enough. Chapter 438. As the brother and sister pair were talking, they saw Yang Kai walk out from inside. "Brother Chen, little sister Shu, I trust you've been well since we last met." Yang Kai smiled, seemingly having not been so happy for a long time. Chen Shui and Su Xiaoyu were just wondering if the Yang Kai they knew was the one from the central capital's Yang family, but after seeing him in person, they couldn't help falling into a daze, even forgetting to answer, just standing there stupidly staring forward. At this moment, the two of them didn't know why, but their hearts suddenly skipped a beat, as if they had never imagined that they would be lucky enough to make friends with such a character, causing their faces to glow. "Is there a flower on my face?" Seeing their hesitation, Yang Kai jokingly asked. Hearing the affability in his tone, the brother and sister pair recovered and returned to their normal state. Chen Shui calmly greeted, "Junior brother Yang, it's been a long time." Su Xiaoyu pursed her lips and looked Yang Kai up and down, muttering angrily, "You really are from the central capital's Yang family, we actually didn't know anything about it, so hateful." "Junior sister." Chen Shui tugged at Su Xiaoyu's clothes and glared at her. "The Yang family has rules. When its disciples go out for life experience, they must not reveal their identity. Junior brother Yang didn't deliberately deceive you." "I know." Su Xiaoyu smiled. "I was just a little surprised." "It's not too late to know now. Come on in." Yang Kai warmly greeted the two of them and led them in. Along the way, Su Xiaoyu chattered like a sparrow, constantly asking questions. She was only from a second-class sect, and although she was the future pillar of Reflecting Moon sect, her status wasn't high. Even the young lords and young ladies of first-class forces rarely saw her, so now that she had suddenly met someone from a super force, her curiosity was naturally overflowing, especially since this person was someone she had known for a long time. On top of that, they had all gone through thick and thin together. Su Xiaoyu's questions were messy and chaotic, like a village girl from the countryside entering a big city, all kinds of questions bombarding the two of them. Yang Kai led the two of them inside while answering casually. Chen Shui smiled bitterly and shook his head. "Is your Yang family big? I heard that it occupies 1/10 of the entire central capital's surface area. Just by riding a horse, it would take 3 days and 3 nights to complete a single lap. Is that true?" The more Su Xiaoyu asked, the more excited she became. Yang Kai didn't answer. Suddenly, a disdainful laugh was heard. The voice entered his ears. Su Xiaoyu couldn't help feeling startled, quickly glancing around and discovering that Yang Kai had led them to a side hall where many people were already sitting. Those young masters and young mistresses were dressed luxuriously. It was obvious that they came from extraordinary backgrounds. Most of them were accompanied by powerful guardians, and the accessories they wore were also glowing. Obviously, they were all high-grade secret treasures. Shi and Chen Shui, on the other hand, although they also had secret treasures and were dressed properly, they were nothing compared to those people. However, it was like the difference between heaven and earth. The one who laughed was a young master sitting on a chair. At this moment, he was looking at them as if they were country bumpkins. Su Xiaoyu's face flushed red in an instant, wishing she could find a hole to crawl into and never come out again. Yang Kai frowned slightly and smiled. "Don't listen to the nonsense of outsiders. Although the Yang family occupies a large area, it's not so exaggerated." Su Xiaoyu's eyelashes fluttered. Even with Yang Kai's help, she was still embarrassed. Chen Shui gently squeezed her palm and conveyed his comfort, making Su Xiaoyu feel much better. She really didn't expect that there would be so many people waiting here. If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have asked so many idiotic questions. She really hadn't seen much of the world, but when she went out, she knew what to say and what to do. It was just that Yang Kai had been very easygoing before, not showing the slightest contempt for her and Chen Shui because of their extraordinary background. Su Xiaoyu was so happy that she had asked a few more questions, but she didn't expect it would reach the ears of others. "Come, let me introduce them to you." Yang Kai lightly brushed aside the awkwardness and said enthusiastically, "These two are friends I met in an isolated world, Reflecting Moon sects Chen Shui and Su Xiaoyu." In that isolated world, Yang Kai had received a lot of guidance from Chen Shui. After that, this brother and sister pair had wanted to travel together with Yang Kai and take care of each other. At that time, they were both Yuan Qi boundary 3rd stage cultivators while Yang Kai was only at the separation and reunion boundary 3rd stage. Chen Shui and Su Xiaoyu obviously wanted to take care of him. Because of this, Yang Kai also had a good impression of these two. Chen Shui smiled and shook his head. "Junior brother Yang is too serious. It was junior brother Yang who saved my brother and sister's lives. If it weren't for junior brother Yang, I'm afraid my 2 brothers and sister would have already become skeletons. This life-saving grace will always be engraved in our hearts. Since you are Yang Kai's friends, you are also Dong Qinghan's friends. Fatty Dong smiled and stood up, cupping his fists in a pleasant manner. Fatty Dong was very clear that the friends Kai Yang had made over the past few years had all been made with heart and soul. They weren't friends that were mixed with the slightest interest or interest. Such people were what Yang Kai liked the most. Generally, all young lords from powerful families had a common problem. When others came to make friends with them, their first thought was to suspect that they were trying to form a relationship with them. Therefore, Dong Qinghan was also quite serious about this matter. So it is young Master Dong. Chen Shui had obviously heard of Dong Qinghan's name and quickly returned the greeting. Purple Fern Valley, Fan Hong. Greetings, Brother Fan. Chiu family Chiu Yimeng. The Chiu family's first young lady smiled lightly, her pretty face glowing with an amazing luster. Chen Shui's expression shook while Su Xiaoyu also turned a surprised look towards Chiu Yimeng. So it is the Chiu family's first young lady. It is an honor to meet you. This wasn't some kind of polite greeting. Chen Shui's words were filled with sincerity, a look of admiration even appearing on his face. Chiu Yimeng chuckled happily, glancing towards Yang Kai provocatively, as if saying, even if you don't take me seriously, this young lady is still famous throughout the world. Everyone present took the initiative to greet Chen Shui out of respect for Yang Kai. Only Lu Song sat in his chair with a trace of contempt on his face. Chen Shui turned to him and smiled, cupping his fists. May I ask who this is? He naturally saw that this person was looking down on him and his junior sister. It was him who had just ridiculed them. It was normal for a second-class sect's disciple to be looked down upon by a first-class family's disciple. Chen Shui had seen this many times, so naturally he didn't hold any resentment. Moreover, the people here should all be Yang Kai's allies, so how could he embarrass Yang Kai? Yang Kai also wanted to resolve the conflict between him and Lu Song. After all, if everything went well, everyone would be working together in the future. If there was a conflict between allies, as the head of the family, Yang Kai would also be in a difficult position. Unexpectedly, when Chen Shui lowered his posture and asked, Lu Song didn't say a word, as if he was deaf, simply holding his tea and calmly blowing at it. Yang Kai's eyes narrowed, and a cold smile gradually appeared on his face. Immediately he turned to look at Chiu Yimeng. No matter what, Lu Song was still Chiu Yimeng's cousin. Yang Kai wanted to see who gave Lu Song the courage to act so arrogantly here and who supported him. Turning his gaze, Yang Kai happened to meet the beautiful eyes of the Chiu family's first young lady. Chiu Yimeng actually smiled at Yang Kai and slowly shook her head. Yang Kai couldn't help but frown, his eyes slowly narrowing, the cold light in his eyes becoming even colder. Chen Shui waited for a moment, but still didn't see Lu Song answer, so he couldn't help feeling a little embarrassed. Patiently, he continued to ask, This brother, has this Chen offended you in any way? If so, this Chen will apologize to you here. I ask this brother master to be magnanimous. After these words came out, Su Xiaoyu's eyes instantly became moist, and she even had the urge to cry. Chen Shui was her senior brother and also her lover. It was not a big deal for her to be ridiculed by Lu Song. She was just embarrassed, that was all. But seeing her hero apologize to someone so humbly, how could she not feel distressed? Especially since the other party was looking down on them for no reason at all. With tears in her eyes, Su Xiaoyu turned her head and looked towards Yang Kai, hoping that he could mediate so that her brother would no longer be embarrassed. Yang Kai grinned at her and moved his mouth. Su Xiaoyu didn't see what he was saying, but she understood the meaning of his eyes. Don't worry. Su Xiaomei's mood suddenly calmed down. Knowing that Yang Kai wouldn't just sit back and watch, she couldn't help sniffling and holding back the tears in her eyes, not saying a word. After Chen Shui asked twice, Lu Song finally put down the teacup in his hand and shook his head proudly. No need to be so serious, you haven't offended me in any way. It's just that I'm a bit of a loner, not good at communicating, especially with those who haven't seen the world. Chen Shui's expression froze for a moment before he smiled awkwardly. Is that so? Then this Chen will be rude. Lu Song raised his eyes and looked at Chen Shui, chuckling. Are you from Reflecting Moon Sect? Yes, junior sister and I are from Reflecting Moon Sect. How many people have come to participate in the inheritance war this time? Chen Shui's expression became somewhat awkward. For the time being, it's just me and junior sister, but… Before he could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Lu Song's sneer. The Lu family first young master stood up and walked forward with his hands crossed behind his back, putting on a haughty look as he said, "Only 2 people? Yuan Qi 7th stage, yet you want to participate in the inheritance war? Do you think this is child's play?" Hearing this sarcastic remark, Chen Shui was left speechless, his face flushed red. Lu Song smirked as he quietly glanced over at Qiu Yimeng. The Qiu family's first young lady was currently smiling with a look of approval on her face, making Lu Song feel like he should strike while the iron was hot and get rid of these 2 guys who were trying to climb up the social ladder. "Do you know how many people my Lu family brought?" Lu Song looked at Chen Shui contemptuously. 2 Immortal Ascension Boundary 7th stage, 1 Immortal Ascension Boundary 4th stage, 2 Immortal Ascension Boundary 3rd stage, in addition to 20 Yuan Qi cultivators and countless supplies. Chapter 439. Inside the main hall, Lu Song arrogantly sneered. Dong Qinghan and Fan Hong both snickered. They weren't idiots like Lu Song, so they naturally understood what was going on, but since Yang Kai and Qiu Yimeng didn't say anything, the 2 of them didn't intervene, instead choosing to sit back and watch the good show. Lu Song, seeing Qiu Yimeng's look of approval, became even more arrogant and sneered. "If you want to get something in return, you must first invest. Can your reflecting moon sect take out so much strength and materials? Sorry, I forgot you're just a second-class sect, so you probably don't have such strength, but at the very least, my Lu family should take out at least half of its strength. If you can't, I advise you to go back to where you came from." "Young master." The Lu family's Immortal Ascension Boundary 7th stage master's forehead was dripping with cold sweat. He wasn't young and had been observing the situation, so of course he could see the coldness and displeasure in Yang Kai's eyes. His own young master was in someone else's mansion, speaking arrogantly, bullying and suppressing Yang Kai's friends. Wasn't this not giving Yang Kai face? What's more, when Yang Kai had just introduced Chen Shuishu and Su Xiaoyu, his tone was quite serious. These 2 didn't have high backgrounds, but they were clearly highly valued by Yang Kai. If Lu Song was allowed to continue, he was afraid he would ruin things. "Young master, you've already said so much. Sit down and have some tea." Under the watchful eyes of so many people, this master couldn't say anything, so he could only quietly signal Lu Song. However, Lu Song simply turned a deaf ear and continued to sneer, becoming more and more arrogant. Chen Shuishu's face became uglier and uglier. "Lu Song." Yang Kai suddenly glared at the Lu family first young master coldly and shouted, "What orders does young Lord Kai have?" Lu Song immediately stopped his endless taunts. He quickly asked. Towards Chen Shuishu, he could speak bluntly, but towards Yang Kai, he didn't have the courage. "You can go." Lu Song was stunned, his face full of confusion. "I'll give you 30 breaths of time. If you don't leave my mansion in 30 breaths of time, I'll make you stay here forever." Yang Kai's expression was extremely cold, and his eyes flashed with a cold light. Lu Song was completely stunned. He had never expected such an ending. Yang Kai was clearly trying to chase him away, but what made him confused was, the person he was chasing away was not the 2 from the Reflecting Moon sect, but him. Young Lord Kai must be joking, right? Lu Song's mouth twitched slightly as his face gradually reddened. If he was really kicked out by Yang Kai in front of so many people, he would definitely be kicked out. He had lost all his face. "I'm not joking. You have 25 breaths left." Yang Kai snorted. "How is that possible?" Lu Song screamed as he stared at Yang Kai incredulously. "Our Lu family has contributed so many people to help you participate in the inheritance war, yet you actually want to drive us away? Don't you want this help?" Yang Kai didn't answer and just stared at him coldly. Perceiving this coldness, Lu Song couldn't help feeling a little scared, but suddenly, as if thinking of something, he shouted, "My cousin is also here to help you. She's a great help to you. If you drive me away, aren't you afraid she'll also leave? If she doesn't know what's good for her, I'll also drive her away." Yang Kai sneered, "You have 20 breaths left." Qiu Yimeng couldn't help rolling her eyes. Cousin. Lu Song finally panicked, secretly regretting all the nonsense he had just said. He stared at Chiu Yimeng, expecting her to say a few good words so Yang Kai wouldn't be so arrogant. Chiu Yimeng sighed. Lu Song, you should leave. This man says 1 is 1, 2 is 1. You've angered him. I can't help you. But, 15 breaths. Yang Kai issued a final warning. Young master, let's go. The Immortal Ascension Boundary 7 Stage Master smiled bitterly as he tried to persuade Lu Song. Lu Song didn't see the hidden meaning behind this farce, but the Immortal Ascension Boundary 7 Stage Master did. Knowing that it was useless to say anything more, he quickly pulled Lu Song along with his other companion and rushed out. Seeing Lu Song's embarrassment and helplessness, Su Xiaoyu suddenly flushed with excitement and secretly clenched her fists. All the insults and ridicule she had received before seemed to have been returned at this moment. She couldn't help glancing towards Yang Kai gratefully. Outside, Lu Song's shouts could be heard, "I'm not leaving. I brought people and supplies to participate in the inheritance war, yet someone actually wants to drive me out. Today he wants to drive me away. Tomorrow I'll expose this matter and see who dares to seek refuge with him in the future." Inside the hall, Chiu Yimeng shook her head, secretly smiling bitterly. If this Lu family young master's performance hadn't been so bad, how could the Chiu family's first young lady have been so insidious as to push him out? The Lu family was supported by the Chiu family, and they were also related. If there was even the slightest possibility, Chiu Yimeng would have been more than happy to let Lu Song stay here. Hearing him actually threaten her, Chiu Yimeng couldn't help rejoicing that her decision had been correct. Driving him away now would only cause him to lose face, but if she had allowed him to stay, perhaps one day Yang Kai would kill him. Did you encourage him to do so? Yang Kai stared at Chiu Yimeng meaningfully. Although Lu Song was a bit of an idiot, without Chiu Yimeng's support, he wouldn't have dared act so presumptuous in front of him. Just now, he had acted so arrogantly and unscrupulously because when Yang Kai went to meet Chen Xueshu and Su Xiaoyu, Chiu Yimeng had given him some hints. And I just casually said a few words. Chiu Yimeng nodded lightly. What's wrong with that? I don't think you wanted to keep him here anyway. And I didn't want to keep him here, but he did bring a batch of things with him, so it wouldn't be good to drive him away. Yang Kai smiled slightly. That's why you should thank me. Chiu Yimeng's beautiful eyes flashed as she unabashedly claimed the credit. With Yang Kai, she had no intention of being polite. This man was too strong. If she were to show weakness, she would only be led by the nose by him for the rest of her life. Yang Kai pretended not to hear her and just turned to Chen Xueshu. Brother Chen, I've let you suffer. Chen Xueshu scratched his head. From the exchange between Yang Kai and Chiu Yimeng just now, he had understood some of the meaning. It seemed that this time, it was a trap for that person. And he had just caught up with it. However, Chen Xueshu didn't mind and just smiled. To be able to contribute to junior brother Yang, what's the matter? So what if I'm criticized? I won't lose a piece of flesh. Frowning, Chen Xueshu said, it's just that if you drive him out like this, it may not be good for your reputation. Yang Kai's expression was indifferent. Keeping him here is troublesome. This person is too unreasonable. Even if he doesn't have a conflict with you now, he will have conflicts with others in the future. A single piece of rat shit can ruin a pot of porridge. I won't allow such a thing to happen. It's better to cut the Gordian knot. Don't you see that Chiu Yimeng, your cousin, doesn't want to take care of him? Chiu Yimeng curled her lips. Don't push me. You make it sound like I'm a vicious woman. If you drive him away, I'll have to explain it to Lu Liang. I hope Lu Liang understands my difficulties. Of all the people he could have sent, why did he send this person? Perceiving Chiu Yimeng's embarrassment, everyone fell silent. At that moment, some fluctuations of power suddenly came from outside, mixed with a few muffled groans. Everyone's expression changed, not knowing why a battle had suddenly broken out. Yang Kai quickly released his divine sense and his expression soon calmed down. Turning to Chiu Yimeng, he said, I'm very glad you found a way to drive Lu Song away. What happened outside? Chiu Yimeng asked in surprise. Everyone else also looked puzzled. He provoked someone he shouldn't have. Yang Kai sneered, being so blind, he only has himself to blame. As he spoke, the battle outside subsided and Lu Song's miserable howls reached everyone's ears. Listening to them made everyone's blood run cold. What the hell is going on? Chiao Yimeng was anxious and couldn't help but want to go outside and see what was going on. That bastard actually dared to have ideas about father. A cursing voice came from outside and a moment later, Huixing walked in with an annoyed look on his face. As he cursed, he shouted, "Who do you think father is? Don't you know what kind of person he is?" After coming in, he shouted, "Hey, Yang Kai, what happened to that little brat just now? Why did he try to steal my things as soon as he saw me? What did he steal from you?" Yang Kai was stunned. His divine sense had only probed the general situation and wasn't clear on the specifics. "Father's treasures." Huixing waved his hand, "Bring them in." Immediately, a group of people came in carrying a few boxes and placed them on the ground. With both hands on his waist, Huixing said, "That's all, that little brat wanted to steal from me, I don't know what's wrong with him." Chiao Yimeng was extremely helpless and hurriedly asked, "What did you do to him?" "I broke a few of his ribs and threw him out." Huixing replied indifferently. Hearing this, Chiao Yimeng couldn't help feeling relieved and glanced at Yang Kai, both of them not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Lu Song was probably unhappy that he had been driven out and had lost all his supplies, so when he saw Huixing bring some things over, he wanted to steal them to make up for his losses. He had 2 Immortal Ascension Boundary 7th Stage Masters while Huixing only had 2 Immortal Ascension Boundary 5th Stage Masters. In terms of strength, he clearly had the upper hand. Unexpectedly, these 2 Immortal Ascension Boundary 5th Stage Masters weren't ordinary Immortal Ascension Boundary Masters. By the time he realized what was going on, it was already too late. Fortunately, Huixing didn't want to kill anyone in Yang Kai's house, otherwise, Lu Song's life would have been forfeit. After listening to Chiao Yimeng's brief explanation, Huixing suddenly realized, "So that was your cousin. Fortunately, I didn't go too hard on him, otherwise he would have died." "Chiao Yimeng, how did you have such a bad cousin?" "Let's not talk about me first. You suddenly disappeared last night, where did you go?" Chiao Yimeng asked. Huixing's expression couldn't help becoming a bit awkward as he hesitantly said, "I went home to find my father and ask for some things and people." "Your father actually arranged for some of the family's masters for you?" Chiao Yimeng was overjoyed. With the addition of the Hua family's forces, Yang Kai's strength would definitely increase greatly. "I had no choice but to give them to him." Huixing was very embarrassed and didn't want to explain too much. Walking over to the boxes, he opened them and shouted to Yang Kai, "Look, a box of alchemy materials, a box of artifact refining materials, all of which are at least heaven grade, a few mysterious grade, a box of finished pills, a box of healing materials, a box of soul calming pills, a box of artifacts, and, although the grade is a bit low, all of them are earth grade, but they should be enough to equip some people. There are also a few good items." Finished speaking, Huixing stared at Yang Kai majestically and asked, "For boxes, and this young master, you can choose what you want." Dong Qinghan's face went black. Huixing Chen calling him brother fatty really made him unhappy, even if he wasn't happy about it. However, due to the other party's status, Dong Dang couldn't do anything. He could only smile bitterly and say, "Young Master Hua, please forgive me. My words carry little weight." They were contending with each other. Dong Pangzi was very depressed to find that this young Master Hua was actually staring at Lan Chudai, who was standing beside him. His pair of eyes were shining with a lustful light. Dong Pangzi could not help but cough. The beauty. Xing Hua didn't hesitate to praise as he swept his eyes around, quickly discovering Luo Xiaoman again. The light in his eyes became more and more vigorous, and even his nostrils began to emit waves of heat. Luo Xiaoman quickly hid behind Fan Hong, a look of panic filling her face. She had never seen such a lecherous and daring lecher. It was as if the word, lecherous, was written all over his face. He was even more shameless than Yang Kai. Yang Kai, are these people all your allies? Huastar's suddenly asked. And they all came here today. Huastar's face suddenly became serious as he took a few steps forward and arrived in front of Yang Kai. First, he cupped his fists solemnly and said, Young Lord Kai, I Huastars was short-sighted and looked down on you. Young Lord Kai, please don't lower yourself to my level. I'm just a playboy young lord, how could I compare to you? Last night's battle, I deeply realized my mistake, so I rushed back to the central capital and begged my father to give me some men and supplies. From now on I, Huastars, am young Lord Kai's man, and when I die, I will be young Lord Kai's ghost. My only request is that you make me stay. Saying so, he actually sat down and muttered, In any case, I'm going to stay here. You can't drive me away. Qiu Yimeng shook her head and sighed, turning to look at Yang Kai and saying, I think it's best to let him go. If he really stays here, the women who come here will feel uneasy. Yang Kai nodded solemnly, That's what I mean. Young Lord Kai, young Lady Qiu, I was wrong, how can you be like this? Huastars was on the verge of tears. Although he had seen countless women, it was rare for him to encounter a woman like Lan Chudai and Luo Xiaoman. Occasionally, he would encounter a prostitute who was attracted by his identity and wealth. Enough. Yang Kai frowned and was too lazy to continue this nonsense, waving his hand and saying, Let your people send the things inside. He didn't want to do anything to Huastars, nor did he expect him to bring people and supplies. It was just that a playboy like Huastars wouldn't listen to him in the future. After suffering this loss, Yang Kai estimated that Huastars would restrain himself a lot in front of him in the future. Hearing this, Huastars was overjoyed and quickly got up from the ground, shouting to his subordinates, What are you waiting for? Quickly send the things inside. Also, tell our people to behave themselves. Don't think you're so great just because you're from the Hua family. Everyone here is a friend, do you understand? The few people from the Hua family nodded and hurriedly left with the boxes. The Hua family young lord grinned and walked over to Luo Xiaoman's side, asking with a smile, What's your name, beautiful woman? Luo Xiaoman was frightened and stood up timidly, walking over to Qiu Yimeng and tugging on her clothes. Elder sister Qiu, seeing this delicate appearance of a helpless woman begging for protection, Huastars couldn't help but feel excited. Qiu Yimeng patted her hand and sneered at Huastars, If you dare have any ideas about her, I'll make sure you die without a burial. Huastars laughed dryly, So there's someone behind you. Don't worry, Qiu Yimeng is under your protection, so I promise I won't touch her. Saying so, he rushed over to Lan Chudai, but before he had time to ask, Lan Chudai smiled and said, I am Yang Kai's senior sister. Huastars suddenly became speechless and felt extremely depressed. Don't make trouble. Qiu Yimeng snorted, Although you're lustful, you're not that horny. What's more, with your identity as the Hua family's young lord, what kind of beautiful woman can't you get? Using this kind of method to resolve your embarrassment is too clumsy. Huastars scratched his head and smiled, You can see it, but it's pointless to say it out loud. Saying so, he shrugged his shoulders and found a seat to sit down, quickly restraining the arrogance on his face. Waiting for him to calm down, Qiu Yimeng smiled slightly, Yang Kai, I think you need to plan carefully. I'm afraid your house will become more and more lively in the future. Yesterday, it was quiet here, but today, 3 groups of people have arrived. The other young lords shouldn't have such great charm. Although it's lively with so many people, the various forces are not familiar with each other. If you don't coordinate properly, I'm afraid there will be some inevitable conflicts. Yang Kai chuckled, With you here, why should I bother? Qiu Yimeng glared at him, Do you really think I'm a servant? Capable people do more work. Dong 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 also smiled, If young Lady Qiu is the one to coordinate, my Dong family will not object. Purple Fern Valley as well. Fan Hong nodded gently. They were all first-class forces and their strength was about the same, but Qiu Yimeng was different. She was from the central capital's Qiu family and her personal strength was high, so she was indeed qualified to coordinate the overall situation. Although it is somewhat embarrassing to say this, my reflecting moon sect is also willing to listen to young Lady Qiu. Not only us, I think the people who come later will also have no objections. Chen Shueshu said. The people who come later? Qiu Yimeng's eyes lit up as she asked. Yang Kai also looked at him curiously. Chen Shueshu smiled and said, because we weren't sure if this Yang Kai was the one we knew before, my junior sister and I decided to take the initiative to inquire about the situation. If he is, then my Reflecting Moon sect will participate in the inheritance war to help junior brother Yang. If he is not, then my Reflecting Moon sect will not participate in this muddy water. So that's how it is. Then, how long will it take for your sect's people to arrive? Qiu Yimeng didn't show any contempt towards his Reflecting Moon sect just because they were a second-class sect, which made Chen Shueshu feel very gratified. They'll arrive within 3 days and are already on their way. Once we send word back, they'll decide whether or not to continue. Chen Shueshu smiled and looked at Yang Kai. It's not just our Reflecting Moon sect, there are many others who are also on the way. Who are they? Yang Kai was a little surprised. They're all people you know. Chen Shueshu smiled lightly. In addition to our Reflecting Moon sect, there is also Water Moon Hall, Pure Heart Palace, Soaring Feather Pavilion, and 10,000 Flower Palace. 10,000 Flower Palace's people are also participating in the inheritance war? Qiu Yimeng couldn't help feeling surprised while Huixing couldn't help laughing. Interesting, this will be a feast for the eyes. 10,000 Flower Palace was a very special sect, a first-class sect composed entirely of women. Because they were all women, their competitive spirit wasn't strong and they had never participated in the previous inheritance wars. However, Qiu Yimeng hadn't expected that this time, 10,000 Flower Palace's people would actually participate and even choose Yang Kai's side. And, because these sects suffered heavy losses in the battle with the Ash-Gray Cloud Evil Land a few days ago, they didn't intend to participate, but when they heard that there was a Yang Kai here, they all became interested. Chen Shueshu explained. Chapter 441. Thank you for your kindness. Yang Kai showed a trace of gratitude. In the last war with the Ash-Gray Cloud Evil Land, almost all the first-class forces had been involved. Every one of them had suffered losses, but some had suffered large losses while others had suffered small losses. Yang Kai hadn't expected that these people, who had almost been forgotten by Yang Kai, would be able to persuade their sect's elders to participate in the inheritance war because of his existence. In particular, the people from 10,000 Flower Palace had broken hundreds of years of precedent and must have encountered a lot of resistance from their elders. Yang Kai could imagine the hardships involved. Most importantly, last night's events had not yet reached their ears, so they didn't know the current situation in War City. Without knowing Yang Kai's current situation, the fact that they had come to him without hesitation was the most important thing. The people he had made friends with in the isolated world were all sincere in wanting to help. After all, Yang Kai had saved their lives from the hands of the Tianlang dynasty cultivator. These people were all leaders of the younger generation of their respective sects. Water Moon Hall, Pure Heart Palace, Soaring Feather Pavilion, 10,000 Flower Palace. Qiu Yimeng's beautiful eyes flashed brilliantly, her face filled with an attractive luster as she sighed. All first-class forces. The first 3 aside, 10,000 Flower Palace actually came to participate in the inheritance war because of you, Yang Kai. Your face is really big. Just how many people have you met in the past few years? Dong Qinghan and Fan Hong also looked at Yang Kai in amazement, wondering how he had such a wide range of contacts. Chen Shueshu smiled and shook his head. In fact, there are 2 other sects that I can't contact. If I could, I'm afraid they would also come. Which 2 sects? Qiu Yimeng asked with great interest. She also wanted to inquire about the details of Yang Kai. One is the Endless Sea Islands Azura sect, and the other is the Tianlang dynasty's Senluo temple. Everyone was visibly moved. The Endless Sea Islands Azura sect. Of all the people present, only Qiu Yimeng knew the details of this sect. Although it was based in the Endless Sea Islands, it was still a first-class force, no weaker than the first-class forces of the Great Han Dynasty. This was because the sects in the outer seas occupied many islands with abundant spirit qi. These islands produced some materials that the Great Han Dynasty didn't have. This would make it easier for the cultivator of the overseas sects to cultivate. As for that Dark Azura Hall, everyone had heard of it before. The superpower of the Tianlang dynasty. Their status was equivalent to the central capital's 8 great families. As long as one had a bit of knowledge, they would naturally not be unfamiliar with this name. Everyone present was a young master and young lady of a first-rate force, so how could they not have heard of the great name of Dark Azura Hall? Young Lord Kai is truly amazing. Not only do you know friends from the Endless Sea Islands, you even have friendly relations with people from other countries. This Fan Hong is truly impressed. You bastard! Chiu Yimeng ground her teeth. Before, when I asked you how many contacts and helpers you had, you told me you had none. I almost believed you. Let's see how you're going to hide it now. Yang Kai chuckled and shook his head, not bothering to explain. He didn't include the people Chen Shueshu had mentioned, but the way these sect disciples knew how to repay their kindness surprised him and warmed his heart. Junior brother Yang, since this place is really yours, I'll send a message first. In that case, I'll go back and report the news first so that the people from the sect can rush over as quickly as possible. Also, the Soaring Feather Pavilion, Pure Heart Palace and 10,000 Flower Palace all need me to send a message to inform them. I'm not sure, but if they know you're here, they'll definitely be very happy. Chen Shueshu proposed excitedly. Yang Kai nodded. Then I'll have to trouble you. Pausing for a moment, he called out, "In Jiu." Inside the hall, a vague figure appeared like a ghost. No one knew where he had been hiding before, nor how he had appeared. It was as if he had always been there. The vague figure rippled and gradually condensed into a solid form, revealing the thin but shrewd Ingjiu. Everyone present was shocked, especially the immortal Ascension Boundary Masters standing behind the various young lords and young ladies. Even they hadn't noticed Ingjiu's aura before. This elusive blood warrior was really extraordinary. Subordinate is here. Escort Brother Chen out of the city. Yes. Chen Shueshu and Su Xiaoyu arriving in War City wasn't a big deal, but after leaving Yang Kai's house, they would definitely be regarded as enemies. If they weren't protected, they would likely be intercepted. Each of the Yang family's young lords had their own intelligence network, so naturally they would do everything possible to suppress the new forces of their opponents. Chen Shueshu obviously knew this and didn't refuse, instead cupping his fists to Ingjiu, his expression dignified and respectful. Then I'll have to trouble Senior Ing. Junior brother Yang, junior sister and I will take our leave first. Little sister Shu, you stay here. You can go alone. Chiu Yimeng suddenly said with a smile, don't misunderstand, I just want to know what this isolated world you spoke of is all about. What did that bastard do to you in that isolated world to make you so grateful? Hearing this, Chen Shueshu smiled lightly. Good, junior sister, you stay here and accompany young lady Chiu. Brother can go alone and return quickly. Saying so, he cupped his fist to Yang Kai and turned to leave. Ingjiu nodded and his body blurred again, disappearing in the next instant. Chiu Yimeng, you arrange things for them. Yang Kai said before turning to the others, I don't think there will be any fighting in the near future, so we can take advantage of this opportunity to get to know each other. Where are you going? Chiu Yimeng asked. Cultivating. Yang Kai grinned and strode away. Cultivation madman. Chiu Yimeng shook her head and smiled bitterly. His strength isn't without reason. Guastars said thoughtfully, his expression becoming frivolous. If I worked half as hard as him, I wouldn't be too bad, right? Chiu Yimeng was too lazy to respond. Inside his room, Yang Kai sat cross-legged on the floor, inspecting the black book space. During this period of crazy gathering, the black book space was filled with a variety of materials, as well as finished pills. As for artifacts, besides the box of Earth-grade ones that Stars Hua had brought today, there weren't many. These finished artifacts could be distributed to arm his own forces. Yang Kai's mental fortitude wasn't bad, but when he saw the dazzling array of materials, he couldn't help feeling slightly moved. These materials included spirit herbs and herbs used in alchemy, rare metals of the 5 elements, all kinds of spirit pills, and rare materials that were rarely seen in the world. Everything could be found here. If there was a good alchemist or artifact refiner here, using this huge batch of materials, it would be enough to refine many rare and useful spirit pills and artifacts. Yang Kai suddenly found that unknowingly, he had actually gathered a wealth not inferior to that of a medium-sized family. And this was just the beginning. The Bamboo Knot Gang was still constantly purchasing materials from the outside world, and as more forces came to join them, more and more materials would be brought in. Not only was Yang Kai gathering materials, but the other Yang family young lords were also doing the same. It was just that Yang Kai was one step ahead of them. The first result of the Yang family's inheritance war was that the price of alchemy and artifact refining materials had all risen. As the price of materials rose, the status of alchemists and artifact refiners also rose. Many alchemists and artifact refiners had also gathered in War City and the central capital, waiting for the Yang family young lords to recruit them. Yesterday was the first day of the inheritance war, and all the Yang family young lords were focused on competing for the first victory. But today, all the Yang family young lords had received news that they were recruiting high-grade alchemists and artifact refiners, and the treatment they received was absolutely excellent. The higher the grade of the alchemist and artifact refiner, the more important they would be. Only the eighth brother, Yang Quan, and Yang Kai didn't make any moves. Yang Quan was aware that victory was hopeless, and even if he recruited alchemists and artifact refiners, there would be no one willing to work for him, so naturally he was too lazy to bother. On the other hand, Yang Kai didn't care about alchemists and artifact refiners from outside. He was already prepared. Sorting out the finished pills in the Black Book space, Yang Kai took out all the Yang attribute pills and those that cultivated spiritual energy. When he saw the yin-yang monster ginseng, Yang Kai's expression couldn't help becoming slightly startled. Where did Su Yen go? He had already ordered the Bamboo Knot Gang to send out hundreds of people to inquire, but there was still no news. Even the several elders of High Heaven Pavilion and Ling Tai Su seemed to have disappeared from the face of the earth. Sighing slightly, Yang Kai realized that High Heaven Pavilion still carried the name of an evil sect. The world was still afraid of the existence of the Demon Lord. As long as Yang Kai didn't win the inheritance war, he wouldn't be able to restore High Heaven Pavilion's reputation. The name of an evil sect wasn't a big deal. The key was that the Demon Lord was from High Heaven Pavilion. This was the fundamental reason why all the great forces feared High Heaven Pavilion. If they could cultivate a Demon Lord, it didn't mean they couldn't cultivate a second. Calming his thoughts, Yang Kai began to absorb the energy from the Yang attribute pills. In War City, there were 8 above Immortal Ascension boundary masters monitoring the situation, which made Yang Kai realize that if he didn't quickly break through to the Immortal Ascension boundary, sooner or later his secret would be discovered by these 8 old men. Right now, he was Yuan Qi boundary 8th stage, only 2 minor realms away from the Immortal Ascension boundary. It took Yang Kai an entire day to fully absorb all the Yang attribute pills. He could clearly feel that the Yang liquid in his dantian and the Yuan Qi in his meridians had become thicker and purer. The incense burner he hadn't used for a long time was taken out again and lit up beside him. While circulating his true Yang secret art, Yang Kai didn't hesitate to use his spiritual energy to spy on the mysteries of the true alchemic way. The incense from the incense burner could suppress the speed of the true Yang secret art's circulation. If this continued, the true Yang secret art would adapt to this huge pressure. Once the incense burner was gone, its circulation speed would naturally increase, displaying great benefits when facing an enemy. Using his spiritual energy to spy on the true alchemic way was one of the best ways to cultivate one's soul. Chapter 442. The true alchemic way was too broad and profound. Not only did it contain a variety of magical alchemy spirit arrays, but it also contained the experiences of countless alchemy grandmasters. This knowledge was enough for Yang Kai to use for a lifetime, but if he wanted to extract this information from the true alchemic way, he would have to consume a lot of spiritual energy. When one's divine sense was being replenished, it would naturally improve rapidly. Time passed quickly, and with a huge amount of materials as a backup, Yang Kai's cultivation and spiritual energy were growing at an obvious rate. Every morning, when the sun rose, Yang Kai would practice his unyielding golden skeleton's secret art. At the same time, he would take a drop of myriad drug liquid. After such a long period of accumulation, the myriad drug liquid's effect of cleansing his body had begun to show itself, allowing Yang Kai to cultivate faster and more efficiently than before. Moreover, this effect would accompany him throughout his life, providing endless benefits. As his strength improved in the future, the effects of taking the myriad drug liquid every day would only grow. This was a snowball effect. War City, East Side, eldest brother Yang Wei's house. After a few days of secluded cultivation, Yang Wei came out for a walk and happened to see Meng Shan-yi of the Meng family standing in his courtyard, seemingly waiting for him to come out. Meng Shan-yi was pacing back and forth, his brow furrowed, seemingly lost in thought. "Brother Meng." Yang Wei greeted. "Eldest young master." Meng Shan-yi heard his name and smiled happily, hurrying over, his eyes immediately lighting up. Eldest young master seems to have made a breakthrough in his secret art. Yang Wei nodded gently and said lightly, I'm about to break through to the immortal ascension boundary second stage, probably in the next few days." Meng Shan-yi couldn't help feeling admiration and envy. Although he was the eldest son of the Meng family and his aptitude was quite good, he was still only at the 9th stage of Yuan Qi. Although he was about to break through to the immortal ascension boundary, he still couldn't compare with the Yang family's eldest brother Yang Wei. Among the younger generation of the central capital, there were quite a few geniuses. Meng Shan-yi sighed in his heart. The Lu family's Lu Qingyao didn't need to be mentioned. The Qiu family's first young lady Qiu Yimeng had also broken through to the immortal ascension boundary first stage 2 months ago. Although the immortal ascension boundary second stage wasn't, all of them had reached that level. This made Meng Shan-yi feel a sense of crisis. Although he was the young master of the Meng family and it didn't matter if his strength was not that great, which man didn't want to become stronger? "What are you doing here?" Yang Wei asked. "It's like this, young master. Since you came to War City, you've been in retreat. It's now the 4th day. I should report to you about the situation outside." Yang Wei gently nodded, turned around and said, "Let's talk inside." Inside the room, the two sat across from each other at the table. Yang Wei was silent, quietly listening to what happened on the first night of the inheritance war in his third brother Yang Tai's house. His expression remained unchanged, as if everything was within his expectations. However, when he heard that Yang Kai had not only snatched the flag, but also snatched the person, he was shocked. His eyes couldn't help but narrow slightly, emitting a trace of light, and a trace of surprise finally appeared on his face. Meng Shan-yi smiled bitterly. "Your family's 9th brother's actions are too unexpected. Yang Kong and Yang Ing tried to steal a chicken but ended up losing a lot of rice. Furthermore, he seems to have released Yang Tai back to the central capital instead of exchanging him for supplies." "He did that?" Yang Wei asked in surprise. "That's why I said his actions were too unexpected." Meng Shan-yi shook his head. "In any case, I couldn't see what his next move would be. Originally, I thought he would take advantage of the situation and capture Yang Quan in one fell swoop while everyone else was recuperating, but he hasn't done anything for several days now. If he was smart enough, he wouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have done that." Yang Wei's eyes flashed. At first I didn't understand, but after thinking about it, Yang Kai obviously doesn't want to attract too much attention, so he's biding his time." Meng Shan-yi's face showed a touch of admiration. "He sees things much further than I do. Don't underestimate my 9th brother. I feel like there's something wrong with him." Yang Wei frowned, recalling the first time he saw him in front of the Elder Hall. His Yuan Qi couldn't help fluctuating. "First young master, you mean 9th brother may be his biggest enemy, even stronger than 2nd brother? How is that possible?" Meng Shan-yi's face was filled with disbelief, seemingly thinking that Yang Wei was overestimating Yang Kai. Although many people have sought refuge with him these past few days, all the young lords have done the same. "First young master, the friends you've made over the past few years have all gathered here. They all want to see you." Yang Wei nodded gently. "I'll arrange for them later." Meng Shan-yi couldn't help asking with some excitement, "First young master, are you planning to take action?" "What action?" Yang Wei looked at him suspiciously. Meng Shan-yi frowned. First young master, don't you want to attack Yang Quan? Yang Kai isn't willing to attract too much attention right now. Besides you, everyone else is recuperating, so this is a rare opportunity. As long as first young master brings your friends over, I don't think Yang Quan will resist. After all, you are the eldest young master, you have prestige in the hearts of your brothers. Yang Quan only had an immortal ascension boundary 8th stage blood warrior while his mother's family was only a second-class force. Such a defensive force would be vulnerable in front of the current Yang Wei. If I go and attack 8th brother now, I'm sure I can win. Yang Wei didn't refute Meng Shan-yi's point of view. Even if he resists, he won't be able to. Then why is first young master hesitating? Meng Shan-yi was confused. If there isn't much benefit, I won't do it. Yang Wei shook his head. This topic ends here. When it's time to attack, I will. Brother Meng, accompany me to meet those people now. Saying so, Yang Wei stood up. Although Meng Shan-yi was depressed, he didn't say anything more, but how could defeating Yang Quan not have any benefits? Not to mention that Yang Quan himself and his flag could be taken to the family to exchange for materials. After defeating him, he could also collect his current support. How could there not be any benefits? At this moment, 300 kilometers away from War City, in the wilderness, two dignified and enchanting women were walking while laughing. Beside these two women, there were two pure young girls. One of them was more lively, calling out Auntie Xiang, Auntie Lan, and talking about interesting topics, causing the two women to laugh again and again. On the other hand, the other girl was very quiet. This girl was covered with a veil, making people unable to see her true appearance. However, her pair of beautiful eyes were bright and clear, making people infatuated. On her forehead, there was a light blue gem, making her look even more elegant and refined. She was like a fairy who had descended to the mortal world and didn't eat the world of mortals. When she looked towards the direction of War City, the eyes of this veiled young girl were filled with expectation and joy, as well as a hint of shyness. Recalling the figure from her memories, it seemed that her cheeks hidden under the veil blushed slightly. A young girl in love was the most moving. At this moment, she was at the most beautiful moment of her life. Even the two beautiful women who saw her couldn't help feeling a little stunned. The more lively young girl suddenly rushed over and grabbed the arm of the veiled young girl, giggling, "Is elder sister Xia thinking about my cousin?" Xia Ningchang heard this and became extremely shy, her delicate earlobes instantly turning completely red as she stammered, "No, no, don't speak nonsense." Heh. Dong Qingyan laughed wickedly, "You're still denying it? When I mention him, your face becomes even redder." "I'm blushing?" Xia Ningchang couldn't help but stretch out her hands and cover her cheeks, but then she suddenly realized that she was still wearing her veil, so even if she was blushing, no one would be able to see it. However, her cheeks really were burning hot. "Look at how nervous you are." Dong Qingyan didn't give up and continued to ask, "Elder sister Xia, what do you like about my cousin? From what I can see, he's just ordinary, nothing special." "I don't like him." Xia Ningchang wrinkled her nose and flatly denied. "Then why did you leave Hidden Cloud Peak as soon as you heard that he was participating in the inheritance war? Master can't bear to part with you. If you leave, no one will be able to discuss the alchemic way with him. I'm his little senior sister. A senior sister taking care of a junior brother is a matter of course." Xia Ningchang bit her red lips and replied in a low voice, seemingly thinking that this reason was too far-fetched and that even she couldn't believe it. On the side, Auntie Xiang and Auntie Lan overheard the conversation between the two girls and couldn't help chuckling. Towards Xia Ningchang, this clever, quiet and innocent girl, these two beautiful women were very fond of her. The two of them had no children in their lives, so during the few months they spent on Hidden Cloud Peak, they almost treated her as their own daughter. Xia Ningchang liked Yang Kai. This was something they both knew and approved of. They both felt that in this world, only a young lord from the Yang family was worthy of Xia Ningchang and had the ability to protect her. "You really don't like him?" Dong Qingyan asked mischievously. Xia Ningchang reluctantly nodded. "That's great. I'll be able to marry my cousin in the future. Dong Qin giggled, her words shattering the heaven and earth. Xia Ningchang was shocked as she stared at Dong Qin dumbfoundedly, her beautiful eyes filled with shock. Good Qin, don't tease your elder sister Xia. If you continue to tease her, she'll cry. Auntie Xiang couldn't stand it anymore and pulled Dong Qin to her side, glaring at her for a moment before whispering to Xia Ningchang, "Don't listen to her nonsense, she's just lying to you." Xia Ningchang nodded gently and smiled. Sister Dong wants to marry junior brother, it's fine. You two are cousins. If you really become husband and wife, then you'll be even closer. This time it was Dong Qinyan's turn to be dumbfounded, quickly waving her hands. I don't want to marry someone like my smelly cousin. The person I want to marry is an ordinary man who will only love me for the rest of his life. Only then will I be happy. Auntie Xiang was also secretly surprised by Xia Ningchang's magnanimity. This girl clearly cared about Yang Kai very much. Her longing for Yang Kai on Hidden Cloud Peak was heart-wrenching, but when she heard someone wanted to marry him, not only did she not object, she even smiled. What's going on? Chapter 443. Xia Ningchang obviously didn't want to continue discussing this topic, her brow furrowing slightly as she softly said, Auntie Xiang, this time Medicine King's Valley has dispatched so many people, isn't that a bit inappropriate? As she spoke, she glanced back. Behind these four women was Old Man Meng. Treasurer Meng's face was filled with worry as he sighed. When he thought about seeing that little bastard Yang Kai again, he couldn't help feeling sorry for his precious disciple. But his disciple was wholeheartedly devoted to him, and Meng Wuya could only sigh helplessly. When it came to matters of love, Meng Wuya couldn't control it even if he wanted to. Thinking of this helplessness, he couldn't help but squeeze out a smile that was uglier than crying. Behind Treasurer Meng was a large group of people, all of them wearing white robes. There were at least 30 of them. Of these people, the strongest was Qin Zhe, a trivial immortal ascension boundary second stage cultivator, while the weakest was only at the separation and reunion peak. If such a group of people were to be pulled out into battle, they could only be described as unable to withstand a single blow. However, these people were all alchemists from Medicine King's Valley. Even if their strength was lacking, they were still respectable existences. No matter where they went, no one dared to take the initiative to attack them. Alchemists were also divided into grades, corresponding to the grade of precious treasures, ordinary grade, earth grade, heaven grade, mysterious grade. Each grade was also divided into 3 grades, high, medium, and low. Alchemists generally had obvious symbols on their chests to show their rank. Each petal corresponded to a grade, gold, silver, and white, corresponding to high, medium, and low. Through the embroidery on these alchemists' robes, it was easy to see what level they were. These alchemists from Medicine King's Valley all had flower petals embroidered on their chests. At the very least, they had 2 petals, while half of them had 3 petals. Among them, Qin Zhe had 4 petals. 4 petals was the symbol of mysterious grade. In the entire Great Han Dynasty, there were only a few dozen alchemists who were qualified to wear 4 petals. A quarter of them were concentrated in Medicine King's Valley. Those who had 3 petals embroidered on their chests were heaven-grade alchemists. Those who could easily refine heaven-grade pills and 2 petals were earth-grade alchemists. Martial uncle, what orders do you have? When Qin Zhe saw that Xia Ningchang had turned around, he hurried forward and asked her respectfully. He thought that Xia Ningchang wanted him to do something. Xia Ningchang couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. Senior Qin, please don't call me that. I'm younger than you. How can I bear that title? Qin Zhe shook his head. That won't do. Since Martial Uncle Xiao has already informed Medicine King's Valley, he will treat you as an equal. No matter how old you are still my martial uncle. Xia Ningchang could not help but smile bitterly. He did not know what to say. Originally, when she heard that Yang Kai was going to participate in the inheritance war, she just wanted to rush to the central capital with Meng Wuya to help, but she hadn't expected that Xiao Fuxing would suddenly give her an order. He had gathered 30 Medicine King's Valley disciples and brought them along. Xianxia had stayed in the Hidden Cloud Peak for a long time, so only the people of the Hidden Cloud Peak knew about her attainments in alchemy. Alchemists were a group of proud and aloof people. Qin and the others originally looked down on Xianxia, but after hearing Xiao Fuxing's words, all of them were stunned. Xianxia's attainments in alchemy were not inferior to his own. In fact, Xianxia was certain that in time, he would reach a height that Xiao Fuxing had not yet reached. Qin naturally did not believe this. Who in this world could compare with Grandmaster Xiao? Relying on the fact that he had just been promoted to mysterious grade alchemist a few days ago, he confidently competed with Xianxia. The result was a crushing defeat. Seeing this, Qin sincerely admired him and no longer dared to show the slightest disrespect. Alchemists were like this, they did not scheme against others. If you wanted them to respect you, you had to conquer them with your alchemy skills. To a certain extent, alchemists were a group of relatively upright people. It was not easy for the disciples of Medicine King's Valley to see Xiao Fuxing and learn alchemy from him, but now a top-level alchemist on par with Xiao Fuxing had suddenly appeared, and one so young at that, naturally he would be respected. These 30 people, from their initial reluctance to follow Xianxia, now took the initiative to follow her and learn the alchemic way from her. However, Xianxia was well aware that Xiao Fuxing had spent a great deal of effort to recruit 30 alchemists to follow her, and had even said that he would treat her as an equal. On the surface, he wanted these people to become apprentices to her, but in reality, he was helping Yang Kai in disguise. "It's none of your business, Ning Chang is just talking to me." Aunt Xiang waved her hand. Qin didn't complain and immediately retreated, leading the 30 alchemists behind him. Medicine King's Valley has never participated in the inheritance war before. Now that it has rashly participated, I'm afraid it will be criticized. Xianxia said worriedly. Aunt Xiang smiled and softly said, "Don't worry, no one is qualified to comment on Medicine King's Valley's actions. However, Grandmaster really cares about Yang Kai. If not, how could he have used the Elder Token to transfer 30 people from Medicine King's Valley? He even asked me and your Aunt Lon to come along because he was afraid that Yang Kai would have some kind of accident." Xianxia nodded silently. How could Xiao Fuxing not care about Yang Kai? Yang Kai had twice asked her and Lu Si to bring him 2 sets of extremely valuable alchemy spirit arrays, and during this time the Grandmaster had been immersed in studying them, even forgetting to eat and sleep. For the Grandmaster, these 2 sets of spirit arrays were more fascinating than any other treasure, so how could he not care about Yang Kai's safety? What Medicine King's Valley had remained neutral for thousands of years? What Medicine King's Valley did not participate in worldly disputes? In front of these 2 sets of spirit arrays, nothing could stop him. He had even argued with the Valley Master of Medicine King's Valley over this matter, almost quarreling with him. Thinking of the Grandmaster's willfulness and protectiveness, Xianxia couldn't help smiling. After walking for a while, the sky gradually darkened and the group stopped to rest by a riverside. Looking in the direction of War City, Xianxia's mood fluctuated. Tomorrow he would see his junior brother. What should he say first? For a time, Xianxia fell into contemplation. Yang Kai's mansion, inside the room. An incense burner rose and the fragrance filled the entire room. The true Yang secret art seemed to be slowly circulating under the pressure of a great mountain. Yang Kai didn't ask, instead focusing on the mysteries conveyed by the true alchemic way, comprehending the complex truths of heaven and earth contained within, his state of mind unconsciously improving. As his understanding of the true alchemic way became deeper and deeper, Yang Kai also realized its preciousness, his expression constantly changing, sometimes shocked, sometimes excited, sometimes confused, all kinds of different expressions. After an unknown amount of time, Yang Kai, who was immersed in the true alchemic way, was completely unaware of the situation in the outside world. His whole body glowed with a strange light as he focused wholeheartedly on comprehending and understanding. All kinds of alchemy grandmasters' insights and experiences were also digested into his mind. A brand new picture seemed to slowly unfold in his mind, And through prying into the true alchemic way, Yang Kai gained a deeper understanding of the martial Tao. There was a kind of restlessness in his heart, and he couldn't help wanting to experiment with alchemy himself. He wanted to see how the first pill he refined would bloom with a brilliant light. But when he remembered what Xiao Fuxing had once said, Yang Kai forced himself to suppress this desire. Until he reached the immortal ascension boundary, he couldn't perform alchemy. Right now, Yang Kai's goal was to break through to the immortal ascension boundary as soon as possible. Once he reached the immortal ascension boundary, there would be enough time for him to begin practicing alchemy. In order to improve a cultivator's strength, not only did they need to rely on the accumulation of yuan qi, but also the tempering of their physical body, as well as their own comprehension and cognition, was the key to making a breakthrough. Therefore, when a cultivator encountered a bottleneck, they would not choose to enter secluded cultivation but would instead walk around casually. Perhaps they would encounter some special opportunity and miraculously break through their bottleneck. Yang Kai faintly felt that exploring the mysteries of the true alchemic way would not only increase the strength of his spiritual energy, but would also bring great benefits to his cultivation. Immersed in this situation, Yang Kai didn't know how long it was before he gradually woke up. Opening his eyes, Yang Kai saw that his true Yang secret art was still slowly circulating, but it was undoubtedly much faster than it had been at the beginning. The yuan qi in his body had already adapted to the current pressure, and as time passed, it would only become faster and faster. Moreover, his own yuan qi 8th stage cultivation seemed to have soared by a large margin. Gently exhaling, Yang Kai felt a little happy. Standing up, Yang Kai put away the incense burner into the black book space and condensed a stream of pure yuan qi at his fingertips, slowly rotating, creating a huge attractive force that absorbed all the fragrance in the room. The incense burner's incense was too overbearing. Apart from himself, who possessed the unyielding golden skeleton, Yang Kai estimated that no one below the immortal ascension boundary would be able to withstand it. If one of the palace's maidservants walked in and inhaled it, they would likely immediately die. Opening the door, Yang Kai stepped out. He had been in seclusion for a few days now, so the people Chen Shueshu had mentioned should have already arrived. As the host, he should show up and welcome them. Walking through the winding corridor, halfway through, Yang Kai suddenly saw Lan Chudai and Luo Xiaoman talking to each other. These two women standing there were quite the eye-catching sight. Their figures were the same, and they were equally strong. Their twin peaks seemed to exude a sense of temptation, as if they were trying to suck him in. The two of them obviously had a lot of common topics to talk about. Senior Sister Lan, Luo Xiaoman. Yang Kai stepped forward and greeted them. Lan Chudai turned her head and smiled happily, but Luo Xiaoman, on the other hand, was so scared that her face went pale. "Are you so afraid of me?" Yang Kai grinned as he looked at Luo Xiaoman with interest. The latter's eyes flashed as she tried to hide, but there was nowhere for her to hide, so she couldn't help but stare at Lan Chudai imploringly. "Junior brother, don't bully her." Lan Chudai stared at Yang Kai for a moment before suddenly taking out a handkerchief and wiping his face, explaining with a smile, "It's a little dirty, junior brother, you should wash it properly. You are now a person of status." Yang Kai allowed her to act so intimately, his lips curling up slightly as he smiled meaningfully. "Senior Sister Lan is considerate, I will pay attention." Chapter 444. Saying so, he turned to Luo Xiaoman and smiled. "Tell me, why are you so afraid of me? I don't think I've done anything to you, right?" Luo Xiaoman blinked her long eyelashes, lowered her head and whispered, "I don't know, in any case, I'm just afraid of you." "How afraid are you?" Yang Kai took a step forward. Luo Xiaoman screamed, "Don't come any closer." Yang Kai was stunned and quickly stopped, fearing that if he took another step, this girl would faint from fright. "Forget it, you two can continue chatting." Feeling a bit bored, he strode away. The people from Reflecting Moon sect had already arrived. Not only that, but all the sects Chen Shueshu had mentioned before were also present. They were already on the road, and after receiving Chen Shueshu's message, they had traveled even faster. These people, under Qiu Yimeng's arrangement, had each found a courtyard to settle down in. Learning that Yang Kai had come out of seclusion, they all rushed to the main hall to meet him. Water Moon Halls Feng Qianhen, Pure Heart Palaces Zhuofang, 10,000 Flower Palaces Han Shaoqi, Yihan, Lu Qingru, and Hua Ruoyin were all present. In addition to Chen Shueshu and Su Xiaoyu, almost all the people Yang Kai had met in that isolated world were present. After not seeing each other for such a long time, these leaders of their respective sects naturally had their own opportunities, and their strength had improved significantly. However, after realizing how strong Yang Kai was, this group of people could only smile bitterly and sigh that no matter how hard they worked, they would never be able to catch up to Yang Kai. Back in that isolated world, each of them had surpassed Yang Kai by at least a great realm, but now, Yang Kai had surpassed them. What's more, Yang Kai, a Yuan Qi 8th stage cultivator, couldn't be compared to an ordinary Yuan Qi 8th stage cultivator. As time passed, this gap would only grow bigger and bigger. Exchanging pleasantries, the main hall was lively. Unfortunately, Yiqing Si and Zhou Ba Zhura sect are overseas. Zimos and Luo Temple is also in another country, otherwise we would all be here now. Chen Shueshu sighed. Everyone couldn't help but reveal a trace of nostalgia. Back then, in that exotic land, everyone had gone through life and death together, so they naturally had a friendship. The future is long, Yang Kai chuckled, then suddenly turned his head to the left and asked, "How is Li Xen Yuan doing right now?" Back then in the exotic land. In the end, there were two survivors from the Palace of Conscience. One was Zhuofang, and the other was Li Xen Yuan. However, the latter's luck was rather bad, as the Tianlang dynasty cultivator's soul-controlling insect drilled through his dantian, crippling his cultivation. Hearing Yang Kai ask about this person, everyone fell silent and looked over with concern. Zhuofang's expression darkened as he said with a wry smile, "Ever since he came back that time, Brother Li seemed to be quite optimistic on the surface. However, only he knew the bitterness in his heart. My master also went to the Medicine King Valley to inquire and found out that there is a kind of medicinal pill called the Heaven Mending Pill, which has a chance of repairing damaged dantian. It was just that this pill required a lot of materials, and its grade was also very high. Very few people were able to refine it. My master has been collecting materials all this time, but there was an accident in Medicine King's Valley a few days ago, so now is a busy time. My master is not accepting requests from outside cultivators to refine this pill, so we can only wait for a few more days. And, since there is a medicinal pill that can repair his dantian, that should be easy." Yang Kai nodded. "When the time comes, I'll help you find someone to refine it." "Brother Yang, do you have connections?" Zhuofang was overjoyed and immediately realized that the person in front of him was not the same Yang Kai he had met in the exotic land, but rather a direct descendant of the Yang family. "I know some people, they'll probably arrive in a few days." Yang Kai smiled lightly, thinking of a gentle and quiet face. Qiu Yimeng suddenly smiled and interjected, "Yang Kai, do you know how many supporters you have now?" "Less than 10, right?" Yang Kai glanced at her. Qiu Yimeng snorted lightly and casually said, "Qiu family, Hua family, Xiang family, Dong family, Purple Fern Valley, Reflecting Moon Sect, Pure Heart Palace, Soaring Feather Pavilion, and 10,000 Flower Palace, there are a total of 9. You know them?" Yang Kai nodded. Although he had been in retreat for the past few days, he still had a rough idea. What's wrong? Is there something wrong? "There are many you don't know." Qiu Yimeng smiled. "Many supporters I don't know?" Yang Kai chuckled. "That's interesting. Tell me, what is it that I don't know?" "It just so happens that I need to report to you, Master, that Tianyuan City has also sent some people to deliver things and a group of people." "Tianyuan City?" Yang Kai was stunned. Qiu Yimeng shook her head. "You didn't blackmail them and then forget about them, right? The first-class force that Lan Jiang belongs to?" Yang Kai suddenly remembered that when they were attacked on the way back to the central capital, not only did the Lu family suffer an unexpected calamity, but Tianyuan City was also targeted by Yang Kai. However, Yang Kai had not deliberately blackmailed it, nor did he send a letter to it. Now it seemed that the person in charge of Tianyuan City was quite clever, sending people and supplies without a word. Qiu Yimeng nodded. I've seen the people who came, and they're not bad. The young man leading them is the son of Tianyuan City's city lord and has a very gentle temperament. He has been here for 2 days now, and his subordinates have been very honest. As long as they aren't as blind as Lu Song. Yang Kai didn't care. You can decide for yourself. If they are useful, keep them. If not, send them away. Qiu Yimeng's eyes lit up as she secretly rejoiced. It seemed that Yang Kai was ready to give her some authority. She couldn't help secretly rejoicing that she had temporarily left the Qiu family to help him. Otherwise, if she had gone to Yang Shin's side, she would have only been an ally. However, the people from Tianyuan City have come for some reason, so in the future, don't accept people you don't know. Yang Kai said. And I know. Qiu Yimeng was very happy. Besides Tianyuan City, is there any other force I don't know about? Yang Kai asked again. Qiu Yimeng's expression became dignified as she quickly said, the Duanmu family, I don't know if you've heard of it. Duanmu family? Yang Kai frowned thoughtfully. I seem to have heard of it somewhere, but I can't remember where. What kind of relationship does this family have with me? They actually came to me to seek refuge. This Duanmu family is the family of your third brother Yang Tai's mother. Do you understand now? Qiu Yimeng smiled lightly. My third brother? Yang Kai was surprised. The Duanmu family didn't send many people, only 5, but one of them was an Immortal Ascension Boundary 8th stage, one Immortal Ascension Boundary 7th stage, one Immortal Ascension Boundary 6th stage, and 2 Immortal Ascension Boundary 5th stage. The 5 people who survived that night. Yang Kai's expression changed slightly. That night's battle could be said to have been extremely tragic for the Duanmu family. There were a total of 30 to 40 people, but in the end, only 5 of them were able to survive the chaotic battle. It was obvious that these 5 people were not easy to deal with, so it was understandable that they had such a high level of cultivation. At that time, Yang Kong and Yang Ying had led their forces to chase after Yang Kai, so they didn't have time to deal with these 5 people. Otherwise, according to the rules of the Inheritance War, they could have tried to persuade these 5 people to join their camp. However, even if they really did so, there shouldn't be much hope. After all, so many people from the Duanmu family had died. Yes, it's them. Qiu Yimeng stared deeply at Yang Kai, her red lips exuding a seductive luster. Tell me honestly, when you let your third brother go that night, did you have this plan in mind? Glancing over at her, Yang Kai slowly shook his head. You think too much of me, don't you? I let my third brother go because I wanted to. There was no need to think too much about it. Hearing this, Qiu Yimeng couldn't help letting out a sigh of relief and patted her chest. Fortunately, you aren't that shrewd, otherwise I really wouldn't have the confidence to face you in the future. Listening to the Qiu family's first young lady's ridicule, everyone present couldn't help feeling slightly moved. Some of them couldn't believe that the current Yang Kai could bring so much pressure to the world-renowned Qiu Yimeng. But in any case, your move is quite exquisite. Qiu Yimeng smiled. The fact that these 5 people came to join you should have been instructed by Yang Tai. Yang Kai nodded silently. He hadn't expected his third brother would also do such a thing. He couldn't help smiling slightly. So, you now have the support of 11 forces. Qiu Yimeng's voice was slightly excited. There weren't many things that could make the Qiu family so excited. Of these 11 forces, 2 were super forces. Of the remaining 9, only Reflecting Moon Sect was a second-class force, the rest were all first-class. From a few days ago when no one was interested in him, with no hope of victory, even 90% of the people were certain that Yang Kai wouldn't be able to survive the first night, to now having 11 major forces, Yang Kai's mansion's development and gathering speed could be described as astonishing. Such connections and charisma were second to none among the Yang family's direct descendants. Qiu Yimeng seemed to be able to see the dawn of victory. Restraining her expression, the Qiu family's first young lady solemnly said, "Right now, the support you have is greater than any of your brothers. According to the information I've inquired, only your second brother Yang Zhao has 20 big and small forces to help him. However, most of his helpers are from second-class and third-class sects, so although their numbers are slightly greater, in terms of quality, they can't compare to yours. However, as time goes by, your advantage will become smaller and smaller, and you may even be surpassed by them. You need to be mentally prepared. I know, Yang Kai grinned confidently, not all of them are here yet. Qiu Yimeng's beautiful eyes flashed as she lightly snorted. You'll have to tell me all about it someday, otherwise, I really don't know how many helpers you've hidden away. Seeing Qiu Yimeng's gentle appearance, everyone couldn't help feeling shocked, their expressions becoming playful, as if they had discovered something extraordinary. Yi Han of 10,000 Flower Palace even laughed. Young Lady Qiu, if you want to subdue Yang Kai, wouldn't that be a piece of cake? He doesn't like me, Qiu Yimeng replied half-truthfully, quietly observing Yang Kai's reaction. Yang Kai grinned wickedly and said, I'll go to your room tonight, let's have a good chat. Qiu Yimeng's beautiful face couldn't help paling slightly. His heart still hasn't changed. Han Shaoqi spat disdainfully. Back in that isolated world, all of her women, except for Su Xiaoyu, had been taken advantage of by Yang Kai. The past was still vivid in her mind, how could Han Shaoqi forget? Welcome to Legends of Cultivation, audiobooks, where we bring ancient fantasy to life through storytelling. Follow the rise of heroes who defy fate, unlock mystical powers, and battle across celestial realms. Our audiobooks are crafted for fans of Chinese cultivation novels, filled with battles, breakthroughs, and legendary artifacts. Subscribe and be part of an unforgettable journey into the realm of immortality.